What's up? What's up? It's Kalen Moss, and Therian Thacker is actually asleep right now, and it is 10:50 p.m. for him. He's on the East Coast. I'm on Central Time, so we're not going to have Therian here today. I'm sorry to everybody. I miss him just as much as you do, but we're going to still go on with the show. This is live session number 53, and today I just wanted to talk about Automation Studio and just show you how to walk around in it, show you how to utilize it. We're just basically going to put together an automation, a dummy automation, so to speak, just to show you the parts and the inner workings of Automation Studio. So I'm going to show you that. This live is just going to be the length of time that it's going to take for me to build that automation in Automation Studio. So let's go ahead and get started. So I am going to share my screen, and you should see my screen now. And so let's just get to it. So to get to Automation Studio, we're going to hover over Journey Builder, click on Automation Studio, and we're going to wait for this to load, and we're just going to build a new automation. So I clicked on New Automation up in the top right. And there's three starting sources for an automation. You have a scheduled automation, which you can choose a schedule on. So you can choose the start date, you can choose the start time, you can choose the time zone to start it, and you can choose how often you want to run this automation. So if you want to run it hourly, you can run it however many every hours, end it after a certain amount of occurrences or on a certain date. Or you can choose to never end it, or you could run it daily. You could run it weekdays. You can choose to end it after a certain amount of time. Weekly, you can choose if you want to run it every Monday, if you want to run it every Wednesday, or every Monday and Wednesday. You can choose to run it monthly on a specific day. So let's say you want to run it on the 7th, and then, or you can say, I want to run it on a certain day of the week, let's say the first Monday of every month, or the second Monday of every month, or the last Monday of every month. Doesn't really matter. Just depends on your use case. Or you could say, I want to run this yearly, and the same thing. So you could say, I want to run it every, let's say, July 4th. You could run that. Maybe it's 4th of July, or maybe you want to run it every single December. Let's say December, let's see, what is it? 24th or 25th for Christmas. You could do that. So that's a schedule for an automation. I'm going to delete that out of here. You also have file drop automations, which you can configure to run based on your FTP site. And hey, Josh, what's good, bro? I didn't even see it because I am streaming alone. I don't have multiple screens. I'm on one monitor, but we're just going through Automation Studio. I feel like Automation Studio is a one of those tools where you get a lot of interview questions about Automation Studio. You get a lot of questions when you're going in for and applying for a job, and people ask you, have you ever worked with Automation Studio? Do you know how it works? So I'm just going through it, just showing the inner workings of it. So let me know if you have any questions about Automation Studio, but that's pretty much what I'm going through. And for file drop setup for an automation, we have where we can choose the directory, which is basically the repository or the folder that we want to pull the file drop from. So I'm going to just show you in FileZilla. I'm actually going to just open up FileZilla, and that's loading. I wonder if I can actually show FileZilla on here. Let's see. I'm going to see if I can do, let's see if I can show FileZilla here. Where is this? So I'm just going to show the entire screen. I know this is going to look kind of crazy for a second, but bear with me. All right, so you should see FileZilla. Hopefully you see FileZilla. Yeah, there we go. So FileZilla, this is your file location, your FTP, where you would pull from. You would basically, this is where you're storing all of your data at. So you would just come up here and you would put in your host name, and then you would put in your username, password, and port, and then you would connect, and it goes to your digital database warehouse where you're basically pulling all your data from. So that's the FTP. So I'm going to close out of that, and I'm actually going to stop sharing here. And we're going to go back to the Automation Studio. And this is where you would be basically setting your file drop setup. So when you drop a file into the FTP, that's going to basically be the spot that's going to kick off this file drop automation. So you could have a file name. Most of the time people have file name patterns. So like, let's say, I don't know, Nike customers or Tesla customers underscore CSV or Tesla store information.csv or something like that, right? You'd want a CSV file with that data. So if you say use file name pattern, you would put that in here. You would say like Tesla underscore customers.csv. And you would basically say, hey, go to the import folder and go check anytime we have a file that contains this name or begins with this name or ends with this name. If you say no file name pattern, then basically you're going to only be able to import one CSV file into that import folder. Most of the time people don't use that, so they use file name pattern. So that's file drop. And then you have something called trigger, which I think a lot of people get confused with file drop. But a triggered automation is an automation that kickstarts if you're pulling from an external database like Amazon S3 buckets, or what is it, Microsoft Azure Blurb or Blob or something like that. You have all these different external buckets. I'm going to show you. So triggered automation Marketing Cloud. So if you're configuring a triggered automation in Marketing Cloud, you're going to be pulling from, let's see, what are the different spots you can pull from? Which ones are they? It is, right here. Amazon S3, Google Cloud Storage, Microsoft Azure, or your own SFTP location. So you can pull from multiple different file locations if you're doing a triggered automation. So if you're ever wondering what's the difference between a file drop automation, a triggered automation is pulling data from an external database like Amazon S3, Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, SFTP, and then file drop is pulling from your FTP. So that's the difference between your setup, setting up your starting points in Automation Studio. So let's just say we have a file drop automation, and every night at 10 p.m., our database administrator drops a file onto our FTP. Well, we have these activities right here. So there's these 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18 different activities that we can pull onto the canvas. Now, what I always tell people whenever they're doing when they're building an automation is think about like Tesla car manufacturing plant. I always think about it like this. An automation is basically like a manufacturing plant where a car is going through the plant, like on the assembly line. And then you have these automatic machines that are like putting the doors on, putting the wheels on, putting the windows on, putting all the pieces together, right? So there's no human right here, right? This is all machines automatically putting the car together every single day, nonstop. Like right here, this is putting in the seats. This is putting in the headlights. All this stuff is being put on here automatically. So what's up? What's up? What's going on, Purnell? Hey, how's it going? So basically, an automation is pretty much that. You start the automation based on the starting source, whether it's a schedule, file drop, or trigger. That's basically the on switch. You're turning the automation on. It just depends what's turning the automation on. Is it the schedule? Is it a file being dropped? Or is it a trigger, some file being dropped onto Amazon S3 or something like that? And then once that automation is turned on, then you have the arms of the automation. You have the different pieces putting the automation, the data together. So let's just look at these different pieces of an automation. You have a data extract activity, which is extracting data from Marketing Cloud onto another software. So let's say onto Amazon S3, or it's extracting it onto your FTP. That's data extract. Then you have, and I'm going to go over the main most popular Automation Studio activities. So then you have file transfer activity, which is basically it allows you to decompress or unzip a file. So let's say a file was zipped on on your FTP. This would allow you to unzip that file. Let's say it's a CSV file, but it's zipped up. It would unzip it, turn it back into a CSV, and then it would allow you to basically use the import activity to import that CSV into a data extension. So most of the time you'll see automations that are file transfer, where it's decrypting or unzipping some sort of file. And then you are importing that file into a data extension. And then from there, you're doing a filter activity where you're filtering that data. And maybe you're doing, like, let's say you're trying to find your customers who are the highest spending customers. Like, let's say they've spent $10,000 in the past 3 months. Well, you would filter your data extension with this data filter activity. And then maybe you are populating a new data extension from that data filter. And then let's just say, hypothetically, you're also running a SQL query where you're saying, okay, now go and join that data filter, that filtered data extension with another data extension, put it into this one data extension, and then populate this giant data extension with a SQL query join. So that's kind of like what most automations look like. That's why I'm showing you like this one, because this is probably one of the most popular automations that you'll see, where you're decrypting a file or you're unzipping a file, then you're importing that file, and then you're filtering that file with a data filter, which is like the custom, the out of the box filter activities that you can run inside of Marketing Cloud. Then you can run a SQL query on multiple data extensions and join, left join, right join, inner join data extensions. And then what you could do if you wanted to is you could then finally send an email to that data extension that you've just filtered. So let's say you went and found, let's say, for example, you did a data filter and you found all of your customers who've spent $10,000 or more in the past, 3 months. You could send an email to those people. Then you could run another SQL query. And then you could say, okay, I'm going to inner join multiple data extensions, and I'm going to verify that data did pop up in the data extensions. So let's say you want to verify that data was found inside of the data extension that you're targeting from the SQL query. And then from there, you could send an email out, or you could send a text message out. Now, the reason why you'll see send email and send SMS inside of Automation Studio, on top of the fact that you can do that in Journey Builder, is because Automation Studio can send bulk amounts of emails at one time. So imagine you have like 10,000 emails all at once that you want to send at one time. That's going to be the place you would go for Automation Studio. Journey Builder is more API kind of mentality, where it's like sending one at a time and sending like one at a time. So every customer who's going through is just saying one. Journey Builder is just sending it one at a time. Automation Studio is like, hey, forget that. We have all of the data we want. We already pulled over the file. We pulled it from the FTP when the file dropped. We imported the file. We ran the data filter. We ran this. We already sent that email. We ran the SQL query, and we already verified it. Now we're ready to send to like 20,000 people at one time. We're going to just do it all at once. So that's basically what's happening. Sometimes people will do a wait activity, like right here. Maybe they'll wait for, I don't know, maybe 2 days or 2 hours or something like that, save it, and then they'll send the email. They'll choose the email they want to send, and then they will, let's say you want to choose that email, click done, you click that. We don't have any SMS messages, but basically you would set all that up. You would name the automation. Let's just say sending to high price customers. Save it, click save, and then you would just turn the automation on. But that's pretty much an automation. Honestly, an automation is extremely easy. The only thing you have to know are the starting sources and the activities, and you just have to understand the scenario that you're working with. So I'm going to give you a link to some different automation stuff that you probably want to know. So I'm going to send you the link to Automation Studio starting sources. So I'm going to find that and I'm going to send that to you. And I'm going to put that in the chat here below. And I'm going to recommend that anyone watching this that wants to learn more about Automation Studio, just go ahead and look at this. Hey, appreciate that, Ankita. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm trying to, just give as much value as possible. So if you have any questions, just let me know. So that's Automation Studio starting sources. We also have, where is it? Automation Studio activities right here. If you just learn these two and you understand the difference between the Automation Studio starting sources and the Automation Studio activities, you'll be Gucci. You'll be golden. So that's pretty much all I got for everybody in this video today. I didn't want to make this one super long. I realize it's really late. Triple T, he is knocked out, sleeping, catching some Z's right now. And I said, hey, man, can you join? He's like, dude, I'm falling asleep. This old man's tired. So I said, hey, got to keep the stream alive. But we'll be back at it tomorrow. I wanted to come here and talk about Automation Studio. But that's pretty much it for you. Ankita, you got a question? Leave it in the chat. Let me know. I'm going to call this session good for today. Leave your question in the chat, though. And Therian and I will talk about that tomorrow. So I'm going to stay on, just see what questions you have. Go ahead and type it. I don't know if you're typing right now, but I am going to call it good. Your boy has to get some sleep. I'm tired. I've been traveling today. So, good. Let's knock this out right now. What's the difference if I add 2 or 3 activities in one step? So, great question. Let's say you add the file transfer, import file, and filter all into one step. The main thing is you want to think about how long is it going to take to run each step. Normally, I wouldn't necessarily put it all in here at once because what's going to happen is once the automation hits step 1, all these are going to run at the exact same time. That's the main thing is like all 3 of these are happening at the same time. So you can't necessarily run like a file transfer at the same time you're doing let's say like a filter activity on that data. You know what I mean? Like, because the file transfer is currently happening. So how is the filter going to currently happen at the same time to filter that data? It's not going to be up to date because they're running at the exact same time. It's like they're trying to overlap and work on the exact same time as each other. And you want to make sure you give the file transfer activity some time to run. So honestly, I would put the file transfer by itself. And if you do have something, let's say you have a filter that's not really dependent on this file transfer, then yeah, go ahead and put it. But if this filter is depending on the data from this file transfer, I wouldn't put this at the exact same time because this transfer is currently running. And at the same time, the filter, if this is referring to the data that this is pulling over or that this is transferring, it's going to cause problems. So hopefully that answers that question. When you have an 2 activities or more inside of the same step, they're running at the exact same time. So you want to make sure that if you do have that set up, they're not depending on each other. But hopefully that answers that question. You just got to make sure you understand your data really well. How is your, like, if I'm doing a file transfer, is that data going to affect this filter? If so, I probably want to just put this filter over here because we want to let that we want to let that data transfer first and then filter that data, if that makes sense. But let me know if that does make sense. If it doesn't, let me know. Also, I'll try to give you a better example, but that's pretty much all I got in this video. I wanted to keep this one short just because Triple T is not here, and also it's kind of late. I'm about to get some sleep. Thank you for the question, Ankita. Appreciate you joining, Ankita. Appreciate you joining, Josh. Appreciate you joining, Purnell. And everybody that's joined, I appreciate it. And join us on the next one. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share with your friends. Join the Facebook group. Share this with everybody that you know. Tell them to join. That's all I got for you in this video. Kalen Moss, Minute Admin, out. See you, everyone.